Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. You ever get the feeling that, like, the villain in a story got kind of a bad rap?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
Like there's another side to the story that we haven't heard.
Absolutely.
Well, today we're gonna put that idea to the test with a classic, The Wizard of Oz.
Okay.
We're going deep with Gregory Maguire's Wicked,
Ah,
the life and times of the Wicked Witch of the West.
very cool.
Get ready to see Oz in a whole new light.
Yeah, Wicked is really fascinating. It takes a character we all think we know, the Wicked Witch of the West,
Right.
and turns her into Elphaba. She's this complex protagonist with her own story to tell.
So it's not just a retelling then.
Oh, definitely not. It's like a complete reimagining. It challenges how we think about good and evil in Oz.
It's like all those villain origin stories we see in movies and TV these days, right?
Exactly.
You know, you can't help but wonder what happened to make them that way.
Right.
And Wicked digs right into that question.
It does. And Wicked also fits into this larger trend in literature, like retelling classic stories from new perspectives.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I see that.
Like Wide Sargasso Sea, for example,
Okay.
which gives a voice to that mysterious woman in Jane Eyre.
Huh.
All these reimagined tales, they really challenge the simple good versus evil idea.
Yeah.
And they force us to see nuance in characters.
Like in real life.
Exactly.
So it's not just Elphaba's personal story, though, is it?
No, it's not.
It sounds like Wicked uses her journey to explore some pretty big themes.
Yeah, it does.
Politics, social pressure, even a feminist perspective.
You got it. One of the most striking things is how Elphaba's green skin becomes a symbol
Okay.
of her otherness.
Yeah.
She's treated like an outcast labeled wicked just because she's different.
That's a powerful message.
It is.
It really makes you stop and think about how we treat anyone who doesn't fit in.
Exactly.
Have you ever felt pressure to conform,
Oh, yeah.
even if it meant sacrificing part of yourself?
All the time.
Wicked really holds a mirror up to that, doesn't it?
It does. It makes us think about how we treat people who are different from us.
Whether it's how they look or what they believe.
Or even if they just challenge the status quo.
And we can't forget Glinda,
Oh, of course not.
the good witch.
Right.
Her character adds another layer to all this.
Yeah, definitely. Glinda's journey is really interesting. It shows the compromises women sometimes make.
To be accepted.
To be accepted, exactly. But it also shows how people can grow.
And even find solidarity.
That's right.
She starts off representing that idea of the norm and then defies those expectations.
Precisely.
So it's not just about one witch's story then.
No, it's not.
It's about how societal pressures can shape us
Yeah.
as individuals and in our relationships with each other.
You got it. And this is where Maguire is so clever. He doesn't just tell a standalone story. He weaves in elements from other famous works of literature, too. Creates all these layers of meaning and commentary. It's called intertextuality.
Intertextuality.
Yeah.
Okay, break that down for me. It sounds a little academic.
Sure. Think of it like when a musician samples a piece of another song in their own music.
Okay.
It creates this connection, right? A dialogue between the two. Maguire does something similar in Wicked. He brings in allusions to books like George Orwell's 1984 with its themes of propaganda and control.
So you're saying he's using those references to make us think about how those themes play out in Oz.
Exactly.
That's really clever.
Yeah, and it's not just 1984. You can see parallels with Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, especially that idea of society being afraid of anything it doesn't understand and then rejecting it.
Oh, I see that. It's like that resonates so much today. You see it everywhere, right?
Yeah.
People are afraid of anything different.
Exactly. And Wicked uses those literary connections really effectively
Yeah.
to add like depth and complexity to the story. It's almost like Maguire saying, hey, this isn't just some isolated story. This is part of a bigger conversation about power and identity and how we create stories.
I'm starting to see how this deep dive into Wicked is like a deep dive into so many big ideas, really.
Yeah.
It's like peeling back the layers of an onion.
It is.
And every layer, there's something new to think about.
Speaking of thought-provoking things,
Yeah.
we can't just ignore how Maguire flips the script on good and evil.
Right.
Elphaba, she's supposed to be the Wicked Witch.
Yeah.
But she actually has this really strong sense of justice.
That's true.
And she fights for what she believes in.
He's totally turning that fairy tale trope on its head, isn't he?
He is. We're so used to seeing things in black and white heroes and villains.
Totally.
But Wicked challenges that. Shows us that even people labeled as evil can have good intentions.
Like those villain origin stories we were talking about earlier.
Right. A lot of times they didn't just start out evil.
Right.
Something happened to them along the way, some injustice or trauma that put them on that path. Wicked plays with that idea too.
So is Maguire saying there's no such thing as true good or evil?
Well, not necessarily. I think he's pushing us to think critically about labels,
Okay.
and to recognize that people's motivations can be complicated.
I see.
Even people we might think of as wicked.
It makes you wonder, have you ever misjudged someone or a situation just based on some preconceived idea?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
It happens to the best of us, but Wicked really makes you confront that.
It does. It reminds us to look beyond just appearances.
Yeah.
Try to understand things more deeply.
That's like Maguire's holding up a mirror to society, isn't he?
He is.
Showing us how easily we can turn fear and difference into hatred and oppression.
Yeah.
The way Elphaba is rejected just because of her green skin is a powerful symbol
Really
for
powerful.
prejudice and discrimination.
And it goes beyond just physical differences, too.
Right.
It's about anything that makes someone an outcast in the eyes of those in power. Their beliefs, maybe. Their lifestyle. Anything that challenges how things are.
Which brings us back to 1984 again.
It does. The way the wizard uses propaganda
Yeah.
to control everyone in Oz.
It's scary how relevant that feels right now.
Isn't it? With all the misinformation going around.
It really makes you think, who's in control of the story?
Exactly. Who benefits from certain stories being told and whose voices are being silenced?
It's a cautionary tale, isn't it?
It is. About the power of language and how easy it is to twist things.
It challenges us to be more critical.
Yeah. Question everything. Question the sources.
Try to see different points of view.
Exactly. Don't just settle for easy answers. Dig a little deeper.
I feel like every time we uncover a new layer in Wicked, it opens up all these new questions.
It does.
And insight. It's like the book itself is a spell or something.
Yeah.
Enchanting us into questioning everything.
That's the magic of great literature.
It is.
It can take us to other worlds, but it can also make us reflect on our own.
Okay, before we get too lost in the philosophy here, I want to go back to something we talked about earlier. The idea of destiny.
Mm-hmm.
Wicked seems to be wrestling with that question too. Like, is Elphaba destined to become the Wicked Witch?
Yeah.
Or does she just become a victim of circumstance?
It really does. That question's there through the whole book. Like, is she really meant to be the Wicked Witch, or is it how she's treated?
Yeah.
That makes her that way.
Like, everyone keeps rejecting her, calling her wicked, and it pushes her down that path.
Right. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
It's like the book saying we become the labels people put on us. Like, if you hear you're wicked enough times, maybe you start to believe it.
Yeah, and that goes back to all that societal pressure to conform.
Right?
If you don't fit in, you challenge the rules, you risk being pushed away. Demonized, even.
The powerful message.
It is. About the danger of judging people based on superficial things. Or unconventional beliefs.
And it's ironic, isn't it? Because in the original Wizard of Oz,
yeah.
it's the Wicked Witch who's challenging the wizard. The one in control. Maguire really flips that on its head.
He does. It makes you wonder who the real villain is.
Right.
Is it Elphaba, who's fighting for what she thinks is right?
Or the wizard, who's manipulating everyone to hold on to his power.
Exactly.
So Wicked isn't just retelling the story. It's like taking it apart.
Yeah.
Making us question everything we thought we knew about good and evil.
Mm-hmm.
Power, identity, even storytelling itself.
And I think that's what makes it such a great book.
Yeah.
It's not just a fantasy story.
Right.
It deals with these big social and political ideas, makes you think critically about the world.
They've been talking about all the serious stuff.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, part of what makes Wicked so good is that it's just a really fun story.
Oh, absolutely.
Maguire's a great writer. The characters are well developed.
Yep.
There's tons of drama and intrigue. You just can't put it down.
And it's amazing how he combines those deep themes with such an engaging story.
Right.
Thought-provoking and entertaining. It's not easy to do.
So what's the takeaway for our listeners? Why should they care about Wicked?
I think it gives us a way to look at our own world. You know, it makes us question what we're told, to challenge those in power, and to stand up for people who are marginalized and oppressed.
It reminds us that things aren't always so simple.
Right.
Black and white. Even people labeled as wicked have their own stories, their own reasons for doing what they do.
Exactly.
And maybe it even helps us to embrace the things that make us different.
Yeah.
And fight for a world that's more compassionate.
Well said. And maybe next time you hear someone called wicked, you'll think of Elphaba.
Yeah.
Ask yourself, what's their story?
That's a great place to leave it, I think. So to all you deep divers out there, we hope this look at Wicked has given you a new way to see this classic story. Remember, things aren't always what they seem, and sometimes the biggest villains are the ones we least expect. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and we'll see you on the next deep dive.